Damon Lindelof's Watchmen is an audacious and timely exploration of racism, identity, and trauma that challenges us to reflect on what is happening in the world today. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Oscar and Emmy winner Lewis Gossett Jr., who plays Will Reeves. Lewis, this show tackles those themes creatively and unexpectedly, with a real sense of urgency and gravity. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how the show tackles racism, identity, and trauma so uniquely.
Well, racism is an old word. You couldn't use it about at least 10, 15 years ago without losing work. But it's been inactive since the first European came to the shores of Africa. What he saw was an established civilization and larger than life people, very healthy and very strong. And of course, the Marco Polos, etc., compared it with what they got from Europe. And he had just gotten gunpowder from China. And they said, we have to do something about this. Otherwise, if we let them alone, they're going to run the planet. True history, we did run the planet for a while. And we made the mistakes. And we're the first ones to have slaves. We're the first ones to have women in harems. We're the first ones to make a mistake. And then we realized that that's not the way to go. We went back to the basics in Africa and started doing things for one another. So everything you did was for the benefit of the whole tribe. And that philosophy is what Marco Polo was scared of. So one would think it was because of their physical fitness, which was fantastic. But when the first explorers came to Africa, we were practicing medicine, astronomy, animal husbandry, family members. So that the tribalism, which they said is primitive, was the thing that kept us going for so long. So as I did a movie in Tanzania, which is one country south of Kenya, I was driven past Mount Kilimanjaro. And as the guide said, here is where they found the first man, ever found out the skull of the first man. So it made sense that civilization started at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro starts at 5,000 feet, and that's where the plane starts, and it goes up from there. So there's so much history. I got as a young man, 19, 20, and 21 years old. And it occurred to me that maybe I should share this with other young people. There is no better and there's no worse. That's recorded. And you got bulls, you've got the Taliban, you've got all kinds of clothing, you've got beliefs and stuff, but it starts there. You come full circle around that thing. This is just me and my foundation. We can't do without one another. And whoever discovered it first should just share that information with one another as a member of mankind. So every film I did, including The Watchmen, is playing those characters with that philosophy. And that philosophy seems to hold on, even in the presence of a brilliant man like Damon Lindelof, who came up with some stuff about Tulsa. And that's one of my favorite subjects, Tulsa, and Bass Reeves, the most successful marshal in the West. He, from Bass Reeves came the copy of Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and all that stuff. And they kind of submerged him into history. But Bass Reeves was Bass Reeves, my favorite subject. The other part of my favorite subject is the town of Tulsa, how it became Black Wall Street and why, and how they did, obviously making the same mistakes as rich folks do, and they got bombed down. So now you go back to that history, and what a wonderful opportunity for somebody like me to help a brilliant man like Damon tell that story even deeper by my portrayal of Bass Reeves and the feelings that got me when they started bombing that theater. We had a little rub-in because he's a brilliant man, wants things to be as is. But I kind of like my contemporary Cicely Tyson, if you hire us, we might know, because our age and our experience, to add to the whole. So here we are, talking. I am, as a result of it, talking to Australia. And I'm not the enemy, I'm the addition, and with my experience to add to that wonderful tapestry that brilliant young man wrote. So it became like a piece of cake. And so I think that in the not too distant future, I'm going to give him a hug and we're going to continue on as artists together.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Like, the pilot opens on the devastating massacre that happened in Tulsa just shy of 100 years ago, as you mentioned. It's such a dark event in history that it wasn't well known, and it reminds us that history tends to repeat itself. So when
Oh
you
boy,
read,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, when you read the script and you see that Lindelof decided to start the show there, what were your reactions? Because it is surprising and very, very evocative.
It surprised me that he would enter, but because of him and he's the fair-headed boy of HBO, to be, he said he did it when he was and he's sleeping and he got an explosion of thoughts. He started to write. He wasn't thinking about whether it's going to be popular or not. He starts to write. He's a brilliant man. So he entered into the foray. Absolutely brilliant writing. It flows like a river. And what I did, what he did not like, is some of them, I stopped reading. I was there to give justice and credibility to the character. And he writes so flamboyantly that I found myself getting off the mark. So I went back to the character that I want to surface in his story. I could do it better without him reading. I'd read a little bit here, a little bit there, so I know what he's writing. But my contribution had to be with what I know knowledge. We kind of rubbed elbows, but here we are talking about Emmys. So the end outcome is really wonderful. And I hope to work with him and see him in the not too distant future as partners of something.
Yeah, I love everything that Damon's done, and and Watchmen was probably one of his best works. And what I'm amazed about is the show was already quite relevant when it was being made and when it aired, but now even more so. It challenges views on law enforcement, exposes
What a
the
coincidence!
of
What a
white
coincidence!
supremacy. Yeah, could you have ever imagined how prescient the show would become?
Well, I've come to feel a lot today. Beautiful coincidences, but the actual coincidence doesn't come from us. It comes from God or whoever you want to believe. And you have your information. You say, if I could have written it, I couldn't have written it better. The timing, I couldn't have timed it better. Then the happenstance of we meet people at the right times. We're in certain places at the right times. And this one is, and it was in my particular right time because it's an opportunity to tell a true story, to make it the stuff that's untrue true by living that experience organically as that character whose hero is Bass Reeves, and living him authentically so that it's good enough to join the company and you give us a call about our ideas. Now that's one idea. There's been, at least in my memory, 7 riots like that. And the town that was also built in Tulsa was a small town right outside of Tulsa called Bowling. And there's a film that Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte produced called Buck and the Preacher. And that was a story about the freed slaves called the Exodusters. So some of them got lucky and found oil. The others was the #1 black rodeo in the world in Bowling, Oklahoma. So there's a lot of history in some of those stories. And of course, Bass Reeves, he was the most successful marshal ever in the West, more than Wyatt Earp. He was able to be the Lone Ranger with masks. He was able to play characters. They always got his man. It's time to tell those stories without taking over, but including this tapestry of this to share with everyone. And the sooner we start sharing our deepest strengths with one another around the table, the better we are, the less war we'll get, the more together we will feel. And that's the only thing we need is our togetherness from mutual salvation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the keys, I think, to understanding the point and outcome of the show. There's an episode where we learn more about Reeves as an NYPD cop who becomes hooded justice. And he's in a relationship with Captain Metropolis, which I found quite audacious and different. What was your take on that really interesting twist in the story?
I think Damon's a clever man. He knows how to get your attention. He knows how to get and pay it. He's a brilliant man. So you should ask Damon that, because I'd be guessing.
Yeah.
But I'm completely drawn in by his ability to change my mind and to move the story along. One of the things that he moved me along on, which I told him about, is the wearing of the masks. Now, apropos that was, there was a poet, a black poet by the name of Paul Laurence Dunbar. And one of the poems that he wrote was called "We Wear the Mask." We wear the mask that grins and lies, it hides our face, and it seals our face and hides our eyes. It goes on like that. We've had to wear masks And in the last scene that this old man does, that you see him on, is he says, sometimes you got to take the mask off because wounds do not heal in the dark. So you see the double and triple meanings that Damon has written. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's the words just fall out of it. So you got to, eventually, all of us on this planet have to have the courage to sit around the table, take all the masks off, and be one.
Yeah.
We're not going to come to the answer without it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And you know what? As well, in addition to the brilliant writing, I think every performer probably even elevates when they're with other performers, right? That are doing, they're bringing their A game. You got to work with Hong Chow, who is brilliant, and then of course Regina King. What's the highlight of her?
I love her. I love them all. But when you go to HBO and Warner Brothers, you better bring your A game because they've got some high quality people. I did the Boardwalk Empire with them too.
Yeah.
So they bring the A game. I did the first HBO movie. Started in Canada, Toronto. So I've been with HBO for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's exciting for you to even call my number and say hello, good morning.
What does Regina King bring to a set that is unique? What is it about her that is so special?
Brilliance, youthful energy, and she's gorgeous.
She sure is.
That's my little girl. I was watching her today on Poetic Justice. Boy, was she good in that thing.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant woman. She's only just begun to.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. She's got decades.
You better watch out. If I was 20 years younger, she'd be in big trouble. You know that.
Yeah, I'll let her know next time I speak to her. I really enjoyed your role in the show. It was very surprising because you start off obviously as being this wheelchair-bound man. We realize that you're connected to the Tulsa massacre. You're connected to Hooded Justice. Like if there was anything at all that you take away from the show, apart from its larger themes about this particular character, what did you enjoy playing about him?
Cat and mouse. It makes the audience be fascinated on who he really is. And it puts us in the catbird seat by kind of playing kind of a dalliance of certain things. And you have fun doing it. So people always like to see you when you're on the screen. They want to see what you're into, and then you're gone. They can't wait for you to come back. It's a wonderful way they put that character together. By putting my hands, it's unspoken, put my hands in the boiling water and come out and peel the boiled egg and eat it. I said, wait a minute, no human being can do that. What is it? What's it? And then I'm sitting there with a flashlight and a body hanging. And I asked her the scene before, do you think I can lift up 300 pounds? That's all he said. And the next scene, she comes home and there he is with 300-pound man hanging from a tree. And you start following her scenes. That's beautiful for an actor to get that kind of dalliance of wanting the audience's attention. Nice play. I can't wait to get back to work. Hopefully they had me. Me too, guys.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we've got to hope for the best now that people can start going back to work in this current condition that we're all in. I want to go back in history if we can for a little bit, because when people think about Louis Gossett Jr., a lot of people think about Roots. He won the Emmy back in 1977. But most importantly for me, I'll always remember you as being part of An Officer and a Gentleman, which you won the Oscar for. And I actually remember you were nominated against Charles Durning, John Lithgow, James Mason, and Robert Preston. You won. You looked very dapper. And you commented that you wanted to bring your kid up on the stage. Now, that was a long time ago when you won that. But when you think back, what's your highlight, fondest memory?
Well, I had made a decision that the way it used to go, when they gave it to Bob Hope and to Fred Astaire, to get to the old guys, get in their Oscars and say, thank you for a wonderful career. I had two guys, it was their last movies, James Mason and Robert Preston, and they both deserved those Oscars. And Charlie Durning. And so I've had kind of gotten into an ease. And my son said he would go with me, and my agent was on the other side. And I was kind of thinking about, boy, it's good to be in the top 5. And I don't know what happened, but I got hit in the rib cage by my agent. They said your name, got up there. And I looked up, and there was Superman, Christopher Reeve, and it was, and Susan Sarandon.
Sarandon, that's right. Yeah.
So I asked my son to go, and he went, he'd go up there now. So I walked up, and people, the audience exploded. I didn't know what I was going to say. And I shook his hand. I did a little Superman thing. He shook my hand too much because you're Superman. I did that. And then I gave Susan Sarandon a kiss, and I hope I can work again and have kissing that way. And I sat there, or stood there, and started to speak the truth. I have a cousin who helped me in my house so I could study properly. And I had been with my agent for 17 years. And I finally said, thank him and my son. And I said to the other guys, this is ours. So I figured I'd get off while I was still ahead.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's a very gracious way to, I love it when winners include their fellow nominees. It's a really gracious thing to do. You know what though, to be honest, I'm sure other people bring this up with you, but I can't help myself. And now that I have you on my screen, I have to tell you that one of my favorite films of all time is Enemy Mine. So as a young boy, I watched it so often. It's a really good film by Wolfgang Petersen. It's a great film about brotherhood and friendship and cultural difference, which is interesting because a lot of what we talked about before is kind of relevant to that. And you were with Dennis Quaid playing Jerry. What did you think about Enemy Mine? Because it didn't really get a great fair shot from the critics, but I think it's lasted the test of time.
Well, the reason why it didn't get a fair shake is because it was part of the product that was sold by Robert Evans to Marvin Davis. He sold 25 movies from 20th Century Fox, so it never got a chance to get out in the theater. Didn't hit cable. When it cable, then I got a cult following. The reason why I got the part is nobody wanted to play a character with 5.5 hours of makeup in the morning, and they couldn't see your eyes or your face or your mouth. It was a challenge to me. I call it the Lon Chaney Sr. challenge. So I had to go to a mime. I had to learn some stuff from the mime. Then I had to go to a ballet dancer and learn how to stretch and walk flat feet, squatting. I learned some stuff from my childhood. And I was able to weave it together in a character that was hopefully, thank God, credible. And it became a life of its own. There were kids that see that now on thing, and I talk to them, and they want me to stop and talk to them again with that coming from a plant, which is 85% water. Oh, of course, you're going to speak like that. And when you get emotional, it gets deeper. And when you get spiritual, it gets lighter. It became second nature there for a while. 5 hours of makeup in the morning, 3 hours to take it off in the evening. God, 6 months.
That's a whole day in itself. And then you have to do a performance on top of
that. Yeah.
I feel like a kid just talking about it. It's movies do that to you. You think back on what they mean to you, and that was one of them for me. Anyway,
well, you join it with all complete commitment, or you don't do it, but you got to be willing to commit all that you have for the success of the thing you're doing in the arts.
That's right.
And let people tell when you're not committed completely.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. That's very true. Thank you so much today for your time, Lewis. I really appreciate it, and great work on Watchmen. Thank you.
Nice talk. I appreciate it. And have a mud crab on me or a Balmain bug.
I will, I promise. Everybody go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, click subscribe, and watch all of our great contender chats just like this one with Lewis Gossett Jr.